Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Triangle BNI. My name is Mike Manning, and each week we bring you wonderful success stories from Triangle BNI here in the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina. BNI, Business Networking International, is the largest networking organization in the world. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle, we have about 40 chapters and almost 800 members. And it's like-minded small business people get together every week and help each other grow our business. And our guest today is Stephen Dunn with Graphix Solutions. Stephen, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
We are glad to have you here. He is in Profits in the Park, which is RDO6. They meet at Hope Community Church in Morrisville every Tuesday at 9 a.m. So if you want to visit Stephen's group, see what goes on there, please go out there and join them. But so start off, give us a status, a State of the Union on where Graphic Solution is today.
Well, we are growing. We are super busy right now, which is a great thing for us. And we've just added some equipment to our Apex location, and we're really excited about that. We've got some big things in the works for the third and fourth quarter of this year. I can't really talk about it as we're finalizing
We
some
like those
details and
deals even
whatnot.
better, yeah.
But we're extremely fortunate and really happy with where we're at as a company. We're continuing to grow, continuing to get a lot of those referrals and those BNI word of mouth referrals, and that's turning into business for us.
Good deal. And for those of you who've never been to a BNI meeting, when each week there's a featured speaker, either 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on the size of your group. And they're introduced each week on this member bio sheet. So we're going to do that with Stephen so everybody gets to know, because one of the mottos of BNI is like, know, and trust. And the best way to get to know people is when they speak, get a little info on them. So Stephen Dunn with Graphix Solutions, years in the business.
I've been in the signage industry for 15 years.
Okay.
Started Graphic Solution. We'll turn 4 in October.
Wonderful.
And BNI was a huge stepping stone for that, which was, it was ready-made business. You had all the pieces tied to it. Can get into that a little bit more in a few minutes, but taking my industry experience and really focusing on taking care of clients and offering premium quality products and customer service we pride ourselves on.
All right. So previous types of jobs you had, and this is always one of the fun ones.
Well, out of school, graduated from Chowan College in 2001 and was a sports editor for 2 years, which was really cool. Didn't really feel like work. So worked there for 2 years. Actually went back to Chowan, worked in admissions. I figured if you could sell a $30,000 a year tuition to 18 and 19-year-olds, you could do just about anything. And was there in admissions for a year and a half, and then moved back here. Originally from Durham, moved back here, and really wanted to start to dive in and use my degree in graphic communications. And did a little bit of work when I got back in the screen printing. Worked at Duke University for about 9 months, and then got introduced to the sign industry, and it just kind of took off from there. So
very nice. Your spouse is married, and you've been married about 11 years.
Yeah, we just celebrated our 11th wedding anniversary in June. Really excited about that. She very instrumental in starting a small business, as you can imagine.
Always is, yes.
Absolutely.
Always is. And you have a dog named Wrigley.
We do. We do.
Cubs connection?
Well, my wife's a huge Cubs fan. And it's a funny story when we got him, and he just turned 11 this month.
Okay.
We celebrated his birthday last weekend, which was exciting for him. He just turned 11. But I always tell people, I'm a huge Red Sox fan, and we were kind of debating on what to name him when we got him. And unfortunately for me, I was in the doghouse at the time, so she got the naming privileges, and we went. And Wrigley is why he is called Wrigley today, because of me being in the doghouse 11 years ago. Imagine that.
Would have been Fenway if you weren't in the doghouse.
Well, we talked about Fenway. We also talked about combining the two and maybe Finley.
Okay,
but
now wearing a Duke shirt, you cannot use the name Finley.
That's true. That's absolutely true. So, but he is near and dear to Mary and I, and we don't have kids, so he is our 4-legged fur baby, and he is the world for us. So
okay,
excited.
And hobbies and activities of interest, vacationing at the Outer Banks, golf, craft beer, and a huge Duke fan, as you can tell, wearing his Duke shirt today.
Absolutely. As we were talking before we came on, my Graphic Solution shirt is dirty, so it's need to wash some clothes when we get home. But a huge Duke fan. And most people won't, take this, might scratch your head, but I'm actually a bigger Duke football fan than a basketball fan. I'm really passionate about David Cutcliffe and what he's done
Mm.
for the football program in the last 10 years. And along with a lot of the BNI stuff that's helped me become successful in starting this business. I use a lot of his inspirational talks and motivation because it's all about team mentality. You're only as good as your weakest link. So, but that's one of those. We've got one of those opportunities to do some work with the football program here. We're really excited about. And once we get wrapped up with that, I'll be the first one to share that on our social media. So
Very
really stoked
nice.
about the opportunity to work with Duke football this year.
Very nice. All right, your burning desire is to.
My burning desire is to. It's funny you say that because one of our newest employees that we just brought onto our team is a Chowan grad, and when I interviewed him, I asked him where he wanted to be, and what do you want to do in 5 years? He said, "Well, I want to own my own sign shop."
All right.
And I said, "Well, if you play your cards right and we're successful, I might sell it to you, and then I can go drink Bloody Marys and Mai Tais on the beach and retire early." No, as far as burning desire, I mean, just to be successful and to be real with people, be honest with them, and build our business the right way.
Nice.
Which is, to this step point, in 4 years, we haven't made a cold call. All of our business has been relationship built, referrals from our partners. A lot of those from BNI, and we're real fortunate
Good.
to have such a great network of like-minded people, and
Mhm.
that's why we've been successful because of those individuals.
So then the key to that success would be.
Doing what you say and saying what you
There you
do.
go. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. And then one of my favorite questions, last one to ask, is something no one knows about you.
Well, my BNI group does because that question's been asked and I've shared it with them. But we have one of the things I was very passionate about growing up is stock car racing, and got the opportunity to drive a mini stock back in 99 at Orange County Speedway for a season, and was able to really kind of get that out of my system. I learned really quick that racing is a very expensive hobby. Um, but that's one thing that I did. A lot of people don't know that I actually drove a race car for a season. And I've been able to channel that into, as a business owner now, good friend of mine, Craig Moore, who runs the car series. We're one of his partners. We do a lot for him as far as we do all the graphics on the car. We wrap the car. Really excited about couple of weeks. We're going to Hickory Motor Speedway for the throwback race for the car series. And we've got a David Pearson scheme that Cars Tour just revealed last week that we're really excited about. But it gives me an opportunity to get back into the racing venues and kind of do that stuff that I really enjoyed doing growing up. Um, Driving's just not going to be the thing for Steven. I'll sit on top of the trailer and be the sponsor.
So where did you finish in your last official race?
Oh man, that's 20 plus years ago. Like let's just say fourth. I mean, I don't know.
We like that.
Yeah. No,
Right.
it was fun. It was definitely, I don't think people understand and realize how much work goes into that. I mean, just even at the smaller level, the local short tracks and some of these smaller touring divisions, people have no idea the amount of effort and energy that goes into putting these cars together and getting out there for a weekend. So, I have a lot of respect for the folks that do that.
Oh,
So,
yeah. A lot of people that go into that. So,
absolutely.
all right. So you founded Graphic Solutions in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
What gave you the confidence, the idea to jump out on your own?
Well, it's funny. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit and always wanted to do my own thing. And, working in the industry for 10 plus years before I pulled the trigger, I learned a lot of good things to do and how to build a business and how to run a business. I also learned things not to do,
Which are as important.
as just as important from some of my former employers. Very grateful for the opportunities that I had with my in my previous stops, just to learn. And I felt like I was at a point in my life where I really wanted to go out and do it on my own. And the reason I wanted to do it on my own is because I've always been a people person, and like I said, always say what do what you say what you do. And I'd run into instances in previous employers where the customer service quality, just the customer service and the quality of
Yeah.
what we were doing just didn't meet my standards. And I felt like my clients deserved more. And so I had my parents over for dinner one night, and um, we talked about it, and had their blessing and their support, and obviously Mary's support to do that. And um, I started lining ducks up and getting them in a row, and um, October the 14th, 2014, opened the doors to Graphic Solutions and haven't looked back since.
Who started with you that first day? Who was on the payroll with you?
It was me and Wrigley. That was it. No, I was the one man band for a little over a year.
Okay.
And great, great partners to help as far as the fabrication and the production of items. When I started off, we were just basically just a brokerage house. We brokered everything out. We had preferred partners that we used. They gave us great pricing and excellent quality, and made it really easy for me to go out and sell it. Learned really quickly that with the demand that we would need to probably grow quicker than I anticipated. We added our first employee, Amy Kist, who's our director of project management and design services. Amy came on board in January of 2016. Since then, we've grown. We're at 5 full-time employees now. Just moved into our new space in Apex in January. Moved from 250 square feet at the Frontier to 1,800 square feet,
Yeah.
which seemed like a huge jump. We've almost outgrown that
Get back,
space
yeah.
already, which is exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time, but we're just very fortunate. And again, it's what we do is so visual, and people start seeing the work that we do, and the credibility starts to go up. And people are like, oh, wait, they can do this and they can do that. And it's a snowball effect. And that's essentially what we've seen. So we're excited, and just keep doing what we do, and
So,
taking care of people.
So what was your first introduction to BNI?
First introduction to BNI, a good friend of mine, Susan Wagner. She's not in BNI now, but she was a BNI veteran. She was with Legal Shield at the time, and she was a member at Research Triangle Professionals. Meets on Friday mornings. They're over at North Carolina Wesleyan now on Friday mornings at 9:00. That was my first BNI experience, and I had no idea what I was walking into. And I'd been with my new company for about 4 months, and she had reached out to the owner of the company and said, "Hey, this might be something you're interested in." He said, "Well, I'm not interested in it, but let me send my sales rep." So I kind of got thrown to the wolves, so to speak, and really fortunate and really glad that happened, because I can remember, several weeks before that, I'd been sent out to a networking event that a sales rep that had left the company had already signed up for. And so I kind of had to take, and I went in and was terrified.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know anybody. I didn't know how to network. I didn't know how to just go up and talk to people. And I walked around the room twice, couldn't find anybody, and got in the car and went home.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not for me. But so it took Susan up on the opportunity to visit their group. Very welcoming, very, very tight knit group, and really liked what I saw. It was funny because there was actually another sign company visiting the same day, so it kind of made them like, "Wow, if you're going to jump on, you might want to jump on it because it's seat exclusive."
Yep.
And so I kind of thought about it and had a couple one-to-ones just to kind of get an idea of what I was getting into. Went back the following week, and I'll never forget Ed Roush was, who's still in RTP group. He was sitting beside me on that Friday morning, and I'd never talked to Ed. I mean, we talked briefly before the meeting, but I didn't know Ed from Adam. And he got up in his testimonial and gave me this raving review about how Steven does what he says he's going to do, and I really encourage you to use his services. And I'm sitting there going, this guy just promoted me and doesn't. But that's the spirit of BNI.
Yeah.
And Ed's been, he's been a great supporter of us and me personally since I've been in BNI. So really grateful. But just him doing that in that brief moment just made me feel there's a whole much comfort.
Yeah.
Comfort level. And so I went through the whole application process, and started to meet with people, and then started to kind of get an idea what it was about. And, Patrick Drelling, who was in the group, he does landscape architecture. I got my first job from him within a month, and that job paid for BNI for the next 2 years. So I'm like, well, this is easy.
Many one, yeah, exactly.
All of them don't come that easy, but it was it was a great introduction. And then again, it gave me helped me professionally on that skill set of networking, being comfortable talking in front of people, and not necessarily selling yourself, but selling other people, and and making sure, because the thing is, if I can sell your services, and that makes me look better, because my mom always she knows that I'm in BNI, and I'm coming up on 7 years. She needs something, she doesn't care what it is. She'll call and ask if I know somebody.
Yeah.
And that's the power of BNI, because of the number of people that you can meet through BNI, by visitors coming to your chapter, by you visiting other chapters. It's been a great foundation.
And you and your mom are the heroes to her friends, because I just need to,
absolutely.
And as Stephen mentioned earlier, one of the beautiful things about BNI is it is seat specific. So there's only one signed person in there, one realtor, one mortgage broker, all this stuff. So everybody in that group is going to get business to just you. And again, like I said earlier, our local office here in the Triangle, 919-465-1667. You can talk to Steve or Mary or Brenda, and they'll help you out. You could also go to trianglebni.com, get some more information on where chapters are, which days they meet, because there's a drop-down box on Find a Chapter. You can pick the day part, the part of the triangle you want to meet in. So there's all kinds of things that'll help you understand what BNI is and why to join that. So I remember my first time going through, I don't know what was more memorable, walking into the meeting like, what is this? What am I getting into? Or walking out of the meeting like, holy cow.
It could definitely be overwhelming if you don't know what you're walking into. And, the one thing that I'm always adamant about being there every week.
Yes.
You have subs, and you can, miss up to, 3 absences every 6-month term. But, and I hate to share this, but, from up until about 6 weeks ago, I had not missed a single meeting in my new chapter since we were founded over 2.5 years ago. I'd been at every meeting, unexcused absence. And then obviously but those are built in for a reason. You're going to have something come up. Absolutely. But I always encourage and always make sure that my sub knows exactly what they're walking into. This is what you're going to do. You're going to be in front of, 20 to 25 people. You're going to have the opportunity to pitch your business and tell people about you, ask for business if there's not seats already. And also what I do is I try to get them to look at the roster and see if there's people that they want to meet, and kind of get them introduced to them via email before they even walk in the room on Tuesday morning, just to kind of make them feel comfortable and at home. I think that's the biggest thing, is just making sure that those visitors, they're not intimidated when they walk into the room.
Yeah, because public speaking, I think that's one of the things that terrifies people the most. Whether it's 20 seconds or 20 minutes, just standing up. And then even when you type out a script for them to read and you throw a funny one-liner to start with, it can be a daunting task for anybody, whether you're the business owner new to the business, or just subbing. Well, I'm a client of Steven's, been doing business with him for a long time. He wanted me to come see, but I'm terrified to stand up and read this.
Well, if you ask Steve Hand, the best way to speak if you're subbing for someone is to know their business well enough that you don't need that.
Exactly.
I'm actually subbing for my credit card processor at his BNI on Thursday, and he sent me the script, and I'm like, I'm not going to read this, man. I know your business. Matt Yablonowski. I'm like, I know your business well enough, and I know your customer service since I've been with you from day one well enough that I don't need to read off a piece of paper. And then that's what it boils down to. Those are the, if you know someone's business well enough, you shouldn't have to read it off a sheet of paper. So, and those are the folks that I try to send as subs, and
So you go through the first couple weeks, first couple months. What were the things that you found you could sink your teeth into that were going to help you grow your business through the chapter?
Well, go all the way, go back to 4 years ago when I started Graphic Solution, and it was imperative to, you've got all these like-minded people, and it's just, building those relationships in the first 3 years of being in BNI that gave me
Mhm.
that gave me the platform to not really jump off into the deep end with this, but have support and know, you know, these people have my best interest, right? So it's just the relationships, and you start to build these relationships, and that's where you can really, dive in and get involved with somebody else's business because they've got your best interest and vice versa.
Yeah.
So,
And if you go to Steve, if you go to graphicssolutionsnc.com,
mhm,
the drop down box for the about, it talks about the team, and
yeah,
you have two teams there. You have the human team and the
right.
dog team. So how did this come about?
Well, it was funny.
Wrigley, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Well, one thing that came up is, and there's a reason that we did it. Obviously, we had, it was National Dog Day. I don't remember the exact day. It was last year when we did it, and we did a Facebook promotion that had all of our team because everybody, um, all of our employees have dogs. So we thought
Okay.
it'd be a cool way to kind of incorporate them into. And again, it's more being personable and having people know us and know Steven. Oh, Steven's got Wrigley,
Yeah.
and and Robbie's got Bogey. So it was a good way just to kind of play that off. But then people just kept clicking on it, so we just kept it up. But our company's very family oriented. I mean, we got a very family feel. We all genuinely like working with each other, and we all want the client to be happy at the end of the day. So it's got a very family feel. So it's only right to incorporate
Mm.
our fur babies into that as well. So
Yep. And one of the best things any BNI member can do is just set up a one-to-one with as many people as they can because you
true.
have to get to know each other.
Yeah.
If I don't know you, I can tell you, but I
Right.
don't know you. So, as Stephen again mentioned earlier, we talk about all the time in BNI are the one-to-ones. You've got to know the person that you're going to send out because you're sending them out with your good name attached to them. So how quick were you setting up one-to-ones? How many? How did those go? How'd you like them?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, and again, trying to think back 7 years ago, it was 7 years ago is a long time, but um, I do remember the folks that reached out to me. It was really weird because they didn't, they never talked about themselves. They just wanted to know what I needed and how could they help me. And I learned really quick that, well, this is how it works. You got to really be invested in what everybody else is doing and how you can make them. And it comes back around, believe me.
Oh, yes.
Um, but the one things that I do, I mean, obviously, there are people in our group that are better referral partners as far as industry,
Mhm.
and every group's going to have that. But just finding who is kind of your honey hole, so to speak, and just making sure that they understand the best way to refer you, and
Yeah.
and vice versa. And some of the people that I refer the most, they haven't referred me a bit of business in a year, but I rely on the other people that do refer me that business. I just think it's important to know the individual that you're referring. And I tell people all the time that when I refer somebody, it's an extension of me. And I've got to know that you're going to do a really good job before I'm going to start referring people. Sometimes I can refer them right off the bat. Sometimes it takes 3, 6, 9 months before I
Yeah.
really feel comfortable referring that individual. Um, it's really easy to refer people when they do really good work.
Yeah.
Um, one referral and he's not in BNI anymore, but one gentleman that I can refer hands down is Jamie Gilly, and he's a home inspector. And I met Jamie through my original RTP BNI group, and he just does such a phenomenal job. His detail in his inspection reports they're spot on,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to find people like that. So people always ask. I mean, I think I've probably referred Jamie at least 1 or 2 times a year. He inspected my house when we moved into our house 3 years ago, and but I have no qualms about referring him whatsoever.
Yeah.
The same thing with our current real estate agent in Providence in the Park, Amy Gruttenstein. Her and her husband Jeff, they go above and beyond, and just how they treat the client and the customer. I have no reservation that she's going to take their hand and hold their hand all the way through the process and make sure that it's smooth. And I've referred her to family members, which
That's the
that's a
key.
big deal,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Because that'll mess up
Yeah,
Thanksgiving dinner,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. So she helped my sister sell her house and buy her new house. One of our employees helped buy and sell. So I've sent them quite a few BNI bucks here in the last 12 months. But they do a phenomenal job, and again, it's really easy to refer people when you know, like, and trust them.
Do you get a chance to visit many chapters?
I do. I don't visit as many as I used to, and a lot of that is just because of as you can imagine, owning a small business, especially when you're growing, can get really hectic and really busy. I do try to visit chapters on occasion. I always take the opportunity to sub for somebody to visit a chapter, kind of kill two birds with one stone by being able to visit a chapter and help somebody out that can return the favor, so to speak. If I need that, I'm actually visiting the Triangle Business Builders over in at Briar Creek on Thursday mornings. I sub for Matt. I actually plan on going to RTP on Friday and visit them.
Stomping ground.
Old stomping grounds. It's always good to see
yeah.
some familiar faces and get the opportunity to just kind of see if there's other people that we can possibly talk to. And some of those one-to-ones that I've scheduled from just visiting other groups, they've turned into business. And so probably not. I know there's some people out there that visit a lot of groups. I try to take a strategic approach with it and what I can gain and what I can bring to the table as well by visiting. It's funny because the two groups that I've visited the most since doing Profits in the Park, starting that 3 years ago, has been RTP and Triangle Business Builders, and they both have sign seats filled.
Oh, really?
So it's not like I can go in there and ask for it, but we'll go in there and pitch our golf tournament. And Kevin Kitts with Engaging Signs does a great job. And there's enough business in our industry to help one another out. And Speed Pro of Durham, they're in the RTP group. They do a great job as well. I know that you mentioned our Durham Bulls work. We do a ton of work with the Durham Bulls, but Speed Pro's actually been able to go in and help them with some smaller things as well, some last minute things that we just couldn't handle just because of our workload. And we were grateful that the Bulls had a resource like Speed Pro of Durham to go in and do that. So, but yeah, I mean, there's enough business out there for all of us. But it's funny that the two groups that I visited and tried to pitch to both have sign professionals in those seats. But we've got great relationships with both of those companies, and we're glad that they're in BNI.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier about owning a small business, I tried to explain to people, if you've not done that, what it's like. And the best thing I could come up with is it's stressful freedom. I don't know how else to explain it, but and for folks that have never been to a BNI meeting, there's a leadership team, president, vice president, secretary of treasurer, membership committee, visitor host, education coordinator. And I know you've been president, visitor host, membership, and secretary treasurer in your various time. So what did those roles help you do to grow your chapter, which at the end of the day is going to mean more business back to you?
Yeah, it's funny because I was president of both groups. I've been president of Profits in the Park and also president of Research Triangle Professionals, and that was an amazing experience in both. Just the leadership ability, helping with the public speaking aspect, and it's like I tell people, it's kind of like kissing babies and shaking hands. That's what it boils down to. You're the face of the chapter.
Oh yeah.
And so that was great. This is the first time in 6.5 years that I have not held some sort of leadership role. I'm taking a little bit of a break just to be able to focus more on graphic solution, put more time into that, and because this is the thing, these leadership roles, and they're very time consuming. But they're also vital. They're vital for the chapter to be successful, and they're in there for obvious reasons. But no, it's just it's given me serving in these roles has given me practice and experience that I can translate right into graphic solution. As far as motivating people, managing people. The finance aspect of it, the secretary treasurer. A lot of people, there's a lot that goes into some of these roles behind the scenes
Oh, yeah.
that people that are in BNI that maybe not have served in a leadership role. They have no idea what goes into it. Endless hours. But I wouldn't trade any of it for anything in the world. It's been great for me to be able to. They say if you give a busy person something to do, it'll get done.
Well, that's who you give stuff to. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess that's why people keep giving me stuff because I'm always busy. But no, it definitely it's definitely translated in, and it's funny because not to say it was dropped in my lap, but when I took over as president, RTP, um, I was supposed to be secretary treasurer, and then the person that was going to go into that president's role decided that they were going to leave the group, so it kind of left us in a
Yeah.
pickle. So I was kind of like, well, Stephen will step up to the bat and make it happen, and
Yeah.
that's what we did. And I mean, experiences like that just give me more experience and make me more well-rounded to be able to do things like this.
And there's so many chapters around the world and just even in the Triangle area here, and they offer different things. We were talking about this earlier. There's big groups, small groups, buttoned up groups, some groups that are a little more chatty, but at the end of the day, we're all there to make a dollar.
Yeah.
So what does growing membership is huge, retaining people is all this stuff. What does your group do well that you would say, you know what, I'd put this up against any other chapter in the Triangle?
You know, we're one of those groups where we have an ideal size that we want to be. I'm not going to share that because I don't want Steve Hand to flip out by saying, "Oh, well, they're not going to get more than this many members." But we feel like if we've got that core group of people that know, like, and trust each other, I think the biggest thing that kind of sets us apart, and we've heard this from a lot of people that have visited our group, that we're just so warm and welcoming, and we have a little bit more relaxed feel. I mean, don't get me wrong, we get business done. We pass a lot of business. I want to say we've passed, $750,000 in the last 12 months. And our group is steady right at we've been between the 19 and 22 member mark.
I'll neither confirm nor deny that number, but I hear you.
Right. But I think that we genuinely enjoy having our visitors there, and we understand that those visitors not only could be potential members, but they're potential clients. Steve will tell you that a member's worth $1,000 as soon as they walk in the door.
Yeah.
And I think our chapter can definitely relate to that because we've had people visit the group that didn't necessarily join the group, but they did business with people in the group, and that's what it boils down to. I think that's one thing that sets us apart is I think just our willingness to welcome visitors in. We've gotten that a lot where, like, man, you guys, I've never been to one of these, but this is awesome. And we have people come like, well, I've been to a couple groups and you guys definitely have a different air about you where you're a little more relaxed, a little bit more, little fun. But I think we genuinely just like everybody. We like each other, and that goes a long way. And so I think that's what it boils down to is just, and again, I think that goes back to our MO is just treat people like you want to be treated, take care of people, and it'll come back to you. And that's essentially what we've seen.
And one of the ways, again, to get in touch with Steve and the group is trianglebni.com. That'll give you a really good idea of how many chapters, who's in the chapters, things like that. So you started in 2014. So by the end of 2015, was there a percentage number of growth that you tracked and could share of what and how much of that may have been through BNI?
Well, in the first year, I relied really heavy on BNI. Again, being the one-man band for the first, 15 months. You dedicate a lot of time to BNI and a lot of time to, at this time, growing a group. Of what we did, I would say probably close to 65% of it that first year was a direct result of BNI. Dollar amount. But I do know that there were several large projects that we got through BNI that kind of made that first year, oh, I can really do this. And really grateful for the opportunities that we got to work for those people. And it's so funny because, speaking of that first year, I got opportunities from people in my BNI group that for the first 2 years I was in BNI, they were reluctant to give it to me because it wasn't my company. But
Huh.
once it was my company,
Yeah.
it's like the floodgates open. I'm like, "Well, why haven't you guys?"
Yeah.
Like, "Well, we wanted you to be able to benefit from it." That was also people seeing the foresight that this is something that I
Yeah.
wanted to do,
Yeah.
and it's something that wasn't super urgent that they had to have it at that particular time. But, um, again, I think that's when people believe Steven could do it. Steven
Yeah.
sold Steven, but now that Steven doing it for Steven instead of somebody else,
Yeah.
they were more comfortable passing me that opportunity.
So what was your aha moment? Like, okay, I think this is going to work out for the company.
Um, when I had to hire somebody,
All right.
um, I got to the point where I'm like, well, I'm maxed out. I can't grow anymore.
Mhm.
This will be the threshold, and this will be where we're at. And I wasn't comfortable with that. Um, so hiring Amy in January of 2016 was it was huge. And funny story is, um, I met Amy through BNI. She actually worked for uh, a gentleman named Ken Crane at Embroid Me, who did the promotional products in our BNI group. And Ken ended up selling the business and moving back to Tampa. Um, and when he did, it kind of left the door open because Amy was still working there. And I had worked with Amy from a customer standpoint where she was doing some embroidery,
Okay.
and I knew she was extremely talented. So we started the conversation, and if it hadn't been for BNI,
Yeah.
never would have had the opportunity to bring Amy on. Um, our second employee was also a direct result of someone that I met through BNI. So BNI has a whole lot of positive vibes as what we've done as
Mhm.
far as growing our company.
Yeah. And
Um,
we talked earlier about Steve Hand. Steve, just in case you don't know, is the executive director, and he basically owns the Triangle area for BNI. He started this. Oh God, Steve's gonna kill me on this. 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago.
it's been at least 7 because that's
Yeah.
how long I've been in
Yeah.
BNI.
And anyways, he has done a wonderful job of drilling down and focusing on what makes it work. Because when he took it over, it wasn't quite in the shape it is now. And because getting people in, okay, we're all about the business. And when you walk in the door, you want to be, he's like, we love our time,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to pay. I heard this the other day. Are you going to pay $445 a year just to make friends? The answer is probably not for most people.
It's not, and to talk about that, we were talking a little bit before we went on air. The biggest thing is you're going to get in what you put in. You can't expect to walk in the door and make money. You're just not going to do that.
No.
You got to put in the time. You got to put in the effort. It's just like anything else. Um, you're not money's just not going to walk right in the door. You got to put in time. You got to do the one-to-ones. Um, Again, being on leadership, that's an important key. That's an important part of it. Um, but the people that put in the work, those are the ones that are most successful. Um, and it's not to toot my own horn, but I've passed over $250,000 in business to other members in the last 12 months. Have I gotten that back? No, but I know that's coming back around.
Yeah.
And but you do it because you want other people to be successful. And that's the mindset you have to have. If you have the mindset that you walk in and you're just going to try to scrape up all this business, and I've seen people do that,
Mhm.
and they last about 4 to 6 months, and then they're ghost.
Yeah.
They vanish. And that's not the right way. And again, that's one of the reasons I've been in BNI for almost 7 years. That's one of the things that you can pick up on it when people are inquiring about. And that's why we're very selective about who we bring into our group, because we want to make sure that they're a good fit for the group and vice versa.
And I know most people before they've joined BNI, you would walk in, it's just natural. You'd walk into a room, a building, a business. Okay, how much can I sell?
Mhm.
And now you walk into your chapter, yours is on Tuesdays, mine's on Thursdays. I walk in every morning like, okay, I got to listen better. Who can I help?
Mhm.
Or if the best thing that gets me going is when somebody gives me a referral.
That's right.
Now I'm like, oh, I've got to get them at least one more.
Mhm.
But just because you want,
Yeah.
there's that help and that camaraderie there that, that is gonna, the BNI line is givers gain.
Yeah.
And it takes about a couple weeks to understand that, man, that's truly it.
Well, I think one of the things too that we use to motivate our membership in Profits in the Park is it's that old, it's a David Cutcliffe. I mean, a lot of people have said it, but you're only strong as your weakest link.
Yes.
Don't be the weak link.
Mm.
And it's that motivates everybody to how much can I give this week? Because if you look at the numbers and the way you track numbers, it's not about how much you get.
Mm.
Numbers are tracked by how much you give.
Right.
And don't be the weakest link. And that's what we really emphasize to our membership in Profits in the Park is that we want you to be successful because if you're successful in passing business to other people, then they're going to have to do the same thing. And some of that business is coming back to you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
and my favorite are the referrals that just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Those are the best because that tells me that you've laid the groundwork.
Yeah.
For somebody who you could have met him 2 months ago, but they remembered you.
Mm-hmm.
They maybe checked up on you to go, yeah, I talked to 2 people. Steven's stuff is killer. Let me, and so let me go ahead and call him. But just my favorite's just out of the blue.
Well, and that's the thing. Some of the biggest referral partners that I have, they're not even BNI members, but they're people that came to BNI and that I met through BNI. So it's not always just about who's in the room every week. It's about those visitors too. That's why we stress so much importance on making sure that a visitor feels welcomed, that they're engaging. The last thing we want to do is for a visitor to be sitting in the corner for the first 15 minutes of the meeting on their phone because nobody's engaged with them.
That's
and I've gotten, again, some of our my biggest referral partners are people that aren't even necessarily in our group. They're graphic designers that are in either another BNI group or BNI is just not their thing because they don't have the time commitment.
Yep.
But I was still able to get them to come visit, engage, meet some people, and they've been able to facilitate some of those other services as well. So
one of the neat things about being part of a BNI group is the quality of people you meet, because we always talk business. Most of us small business owners, we want to help each other. But the other thing is you find out many of these people are knee deep in their community. And I know one of the things you've done, Stephen, and you talked about earlier that it's helped BNI's helped do this is your golf tournament Tee Up for Beacon.
Yeah, it's something that's very important to me personally, and my wife. My wife is a nurse practitioner at UNC and works with in urology, so she sees a lot of bladder cancer on a daily basis. And so 4 years ago, when I started Graphic Solution, part of the reason I wanted to start Graphic Solutions is because I wanted to give back to the community, and this was a great opportunity to do so. And so I started Tee Up for Beacon 4 years ago. Our first event was over at Hillendale Golf Course in Durham. Carl and Donna Kimball did an amazing job hosting us our first 2 years. But we started that first tournament, 13 teams, probably 70% of them were BNI people, which was a great way for BNI to support me and what we were doing not for business, but for a charity and for a cause. And so we took that number of 13 and we grew it to 22 the second year. First year we raised just a little under $4,500 in profit that went right back to the bladder cancer triangle chapter here in Raleigh, Durham. And the second year we raised just under $8,800. So we almost doubled. And then last year we moved our event over to Governor's Club in Chapel Hill. Had 32 teams and raised over $13,000 in year 3. And again, it's a lot of it is people in BNI that want to support something. I think the biggest thing that people don't realize, cancer's out there. There's so many different kinds of cancer. But bladder cancer is one of the top 5 diagnosed cancers annually in the country, but yet their funding is in the mid-20s. And simply what we wanted to do is just bridge the gap, try to close that gap up. And what we do and the money that we use are the money that we raise for the Triangle Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network. That all stays locally. UNC and Duke, what we'll do is we use some of that money to help some of these families stay at SACU House, the Ronald McDonald House, things like that when their patients are coming in here for treatment. We also send some of that money to research at UNC, which is really exciting. Our 4th annual event is going to be Monday, September the 17th at Governor's Club. if you want more information, you can go to our website. There's a link on our Graphic Solution NC website that you can go on and you can register. But we would love to have everybody come out and support. We've had Chamber of Commerce weather for our first 3 events, so knock on wood that we continue that trend. But last year's event was such a great event, and I couldn't do it without a lot of people that have helped support and grow this event. Matt Yablonowski with Retained Revenue is one of those individuals. He's done a phenomenal job. He's kind of been my right-hand man, so to speak, for the last 3 years. But also Amy Grettenstein and Jeff Boone with the Boone team, Kathy Wynn with SureVest Insurance. All those folks that are BNI folks have been instrumental in continuing to grow our event to where it's at today. We're really excited about our 2018 event. And like I said, hopefully everybody that is a golfer, you don't have to be a golfer.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot of people that don't golf that came out and set up tables and did hole sponsorships or volunteered. There's a lot of different ways to partake in and be a part of this event, even if you're not a golfer. So I'd encourage everybody to join us on September the 17th at the Governor's Club.
All right. And you can go, like Stephen said, you can go to his website, get more information, not only on the golf tournament, but his company, read more about his dog team, part of Graphic Solution. Go to trianglebni.com, learn more about joining a chapter here in the area. And folks, every week we bring a story about people that have joined BNI and have started or grown a business. It works. There's a reason why it works. It's wonderful people you get involved with. And Stephen, it's great to hear your story, and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed being here today.
All right. And you can, we'll be here next week. Jed Gronwald with Hunter Row Realty will be our guest. Another good story from Triangle BNI. And until then, folks, we hope you have a good day.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.